Good morning, students. Yesterday we had discussed the prominence of Magad as a Mahajanpad and how it was the most important Mahajanpad during the early times. But one thing needs to be understood, and we had also covered that yesterday, is in terms of the number of years, the the rulers of Magad, they had been around for the most important ones, right from Bimbisar to Ajatshatru, then Mahapadmananda, Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka, Bindusar, all these people, if you actually add, their reign would not extend beyond 500 years. But you have to understand the 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 foundation of a lot of things that they laid in those years, we practice them even today. So that is precisely the reason why the history of India is incomplete without there had been a lot of Mahajanpads. There were 16 Mahajanpads in total, okay? But the history of India is incomplete without discussing the contributions that was made by the administrative contributions, the military contributions in terms of even religion, Buddhism. It would be incomplete without discussing what the changes that was made by the, or rather that were brought about by the rulers of Magad, whether it was Bimbisara, Bindusara, Ajatshatru, who had, and of course Bimbisara as well, who were contemporaries of Gautam Buddha, and as well as Bhagwan Mahavir, and then Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka and Bindusara. So they had an enormous influence in the society of India, something that is felt even today. And so yesterday we had also started about this. We just started talking about some of the contemporaries of Magads from southern India, the ruling families of Chola, or the empire of Chola, then Chera and the Pandya, who were there in different period in time. So today we start with the last many chiefs and kings, including the Satavahanas, who ruled over parts of western and central India, 2nd century before Christ, and the Shakas, now a people of Central Asian origin who established kingdom in the northwestern and the western parts of the subcontinent, derived revenues from long distance trade. Their social origins were often obscure, but as we shall see in the case of Satavahanas, once they acquired power, they attempted to claim social status in a variety of ways. Now, students, one thing is very important here, that is that you would see throughout history, is the sentence. Yes, is the sentence that they were these rich and successful empires were good in trading. Okay, they happen to be expert traders and merchants, derived revenues from long distance trade. These rulers always understood that you cannot have a strong and a powerful administration, military, or justice system unless your revenues are steady and your revenues are good. And to ensure that throughout history, whether in the Roman world or the Greek Empire, or the Chinese or Indian or the Persian Empire, anywhere for that matter, every famous and every prominent and a great ruler understood the importance of trade and commerce. Okay, and it was a similar case with the Shakas and the Satavahanas. But there is one major difference here, is that the Satavahanas had Indian origins. Okay, they essentially were indigenous people from the Deccan part of India. But the Shakas definitely were not indigenous because they had Iranian origins. Of course, once they settled in India and they started ruling India, the geography of India, and so naturally they could not have behaved in an Iranian fashion. Naturally, they also indigenized and they embraced all the culture and traditions of India, and definitely it was they never ruled like Iranians here. They ruled like Indians as part of you and me, and that's precisely was the reason for their success, because people then supported them, because people considered them to be good rulers, able rulers, and that's what was essentially needed. Now, Divine kings, the topic of divine kings. Now, students, again, this is not something which is very unique to India. Anywhere around the world, I have, as I've always said, that the kings and the rulers and the emperors, they were always considered to be the representative of God on earth. So they had a certain sense and a certain sense of divinity the moment they occupied the throne, because they were considered to be, because the whole power flowed from them. Like the whole power flowed from them. They could literally, they were absolute rulers. They could literally do whatever they wished. It's just like the gods do whatever they want, right? Now, one means of claiming high status was to identify with a variety of deities. The strategy is best exemplified by the Kushans, first century before Christ, who ruled over a vast kingdom extending from Central Asia to northwest India. Their history has been reconstructed from inscriptions and textual traditions. The notions of kingship they wished to project were perhaps best evidenced in their coins and sculpture. Now, the Kushans definitely had a very long, or rather, a very strong sense of coinage and the whole sculpture, because a great amount of evidence and knowledge and information about Kushans comes from their coins and sculpture. And colossal statues of Kushan rulers have been found installed in a shrine at near Mathura, Uttar Pradesh. Similar statues have been found in a shrine in Afghanistan as well. Some historians feel this indicates that the Kushans considered themselves godlike. Many Kushan rulers also adopted the title Devaputra, possibly inspired by the Chinese rulers who called themselves sons of heaven. Students, first thing first, you have to understand that just like the Shakas, the Kushans did not have Indian origins. They came from the areas around Bactria. Bactria would be today's Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, around those areas, Central Asian lands. So they came from there, and their rule extended from southern part of Afghanistan and definitely today's whole Pakistan, and then our Indian Punjab, and then areas around Rajasthan. So, and but if it was a very very powerful ruler, Kushan ruler like Kanishka, you'd be surprised to know that not just they are just mentioning here Mathura. The inscriptions have been found in Mathura, but you will be surprised to know that uh, under Kanishka, who was the greatest ruler of the Kushans who ruled in India, his empire, it is believed to be it extended till Varanasi, that is Benares, and according to certain historians, not just Benares, but it extended even till the areas around Patliputra, which is present day Patna. So imagine a ruler who has his area of influence to southern Afghanistan, whole of present day Pakistan, and right from there he keeps the whole of central India. Of course, the West India is of course there. The whole of central India, a major part of Madhya Pradesh, right till Bihar. So these people were that powerful. But you have to understand one very important thing: they never ruled like foreigners, and that precisely was the reason for their success, because they indigenized themselves, they adapted themselves, because they understood that if they are ruling and if they intend to rule in a land which happens to be entirely different in terms of culture and its approach, they would have to also adapt. Okay. But one thing very important, students, which I would also like, I again wish I could have explained these things on board. But students, you have to understand one thing. Today, Afghanistan, whether when you even in the previous chapter, when you were or probably in this chapter when we had been discussing about languages like Brahmi and Kharosthi, and in fact, even when we study about the Pali language, all these languages which where most of our great works have been written in, all these languages have, if you look at today's geography, all of them have foreign origins. Okay, they're not Indian languages. If you look at the geography of India today, none of them originated in our current geography. All of them originated around areas around the Afghanistan and today's Pakistan, and certain areas of Iran, today's Iran, and mainly in the areas around Bactria, that is around the Afghanistan Pakistan area. But and why is that? Because you have to understand one very important thing, students. Though it is so difficult to believe, looking at what the world looks like, or rather what Afghanistan looks like today, like Al Qaeda and ISIS and all the terrorism and Mullahgiri. But you have to understand that there was a time, 2000 years ago, when Afghanistan, yes, today's Afghanistan, used to be the center of Buddhism. Okay, some of the greatest Buddhist scholars and monks used to live in Afghanistan. Okay, and so it was just a matter of so it shouldn't come to surprise if you with this knowledge that yes, most of the Buddhist texts and the most of the Buddhist literature is there in languages which had the origins in today's Afghanistan, and that is today's Pakistan, in those areas. And it is definitely not in written in the scripts which have Dravidian or South Indian origins, or the Indian origins, if I can choose to call it. Okay, coming to this paragraph. Histories of the Gupta rulers have been reconstructed from literature, coins, and inscriptions, um, including prasastis composed in praise of kings in particular and patrons in general by poets. While historians often attempt to draw factual information from such compositions, those who composed and read them often treasured them as works of poetry rather than accounts that were literally true. The Pragya Prashasti, also known as the Allahabad pillar inscription, composed in Sanskrit by Hari Sena, the court poet of Samudragupta, arguably the most powerful of the Gupta rulers, 4th century, that is 400 years AD. Okay, so this is essentially about the importance of coins and scriptures, and how they have helped us in the reconstruction of character and reconstruction of the administration of the prominent rulers during that period in time after the dynasty of Mauryas was gone. Okay, we shall continue. Thank you.